Hello and welcome to Lemieux Reviews, where we bring you the stories you may not yet have heard of. As always, I'm Ross Lemieux, your host. Before we begin, I just want to draw your attention to the wall behind me with new comics just put up. I like to switch things up and give you something new to look at every once in a while. But back to the subject of our video. Issue 18 of Once and Future, the final battle for the Grail, currently in the hands of the corrupted Galahad, being pursued by a dragon. Let's jump in and see how our latest story unfolds. The cover for issue 18 is that of the real-world setting, with Duncan slaying Arthur with the sword Excalibur. Our comic was created by Kieran Gillen, Dan Mora, Tamara Bonvillain. It was distributed by Boom Studios and came out in April 28th of 2021. We open in Camelot with Merlin looking upon a scene unfolding far off through his cauldron. It's a picture of Duncan and the group chasing down Galahad on Dragonback. The reason behind this is because Galahad has made off with the Grail. Rose stirs up some sass while being unable to fully control the dragon, so they all take an easier route and open fire on Galahad, riddling him with bullets. Elaine appears behind Merlin, holding him at gunpoint, demanding he save her son. But he cannot do it. Being what he is, he cannot interfere with the holy affairs. But Elaine doesn't care, and threatens to off both Merlin and Arthur if he didn't do something. Since she does all this for Galahad, making his death mean it all was pointless. But because of Galahad's fumble, now both groups dive for the chalice. Just then, Merlin intercepts the dragon, allowing Galahad to reclaim the Grail. But as he is about to touch it, the chalice disintegrates, shocking Elaine, but Merlin, knowing what has happened, the Grail wouldn't stand the transgression of a blighted being. With the Grail gone, the world for the second time begins to crumble, forcing everyone to run for the exits. Making it back to the tunnel entrance, they see the dragon leave, and the group starts to hoof it down the tunnel to the boiling cauldron, the way they got in. Though unlike the other times they entered the other world, this time they have no tether to get back to the real world. Gran making up the idea to cool the boiling water, breaking the hold of the other world on that specific room. To their luck it works, and they are back in Rose's house. To everyone's relief and rejoice. While everyone is about to depart, Gran gets the couple to join her for drinks at the senior home. On the way home, Rose brings up the Green Knight, the one she must still face. But the consensus is that they have a year to deal with it, so it should be put on the back burner. And even though Rose tries to dip out when dropping off Gran forces her to come in for dinner. In the other world, Galahad approaches Arthur to explain to his king how he had failed him. But Merlin interjects. Merlin joins them, taking the blame for his failed plan. Arthur rues his end, his story coming to a close. Galahad still lamenting the loss of the Holy Cup. Can't believe it slipped through his hands. But on Downing Street in London, something else is brewing. Sir Hempelworth giving the Prime Minister a debrief, telling the minister how everything has worked out. But to Hempelworth's surprise, the soldier that had been with him in the other world walks in, about to tell him everything he was warned not to. Hempelworth, realizing he has been betrayed, tries to reason with the man. But the Prime Minister is set on learning about the other world, then spreading that knowledge to everyday people. All in order to gain fame, popularity, and power. Running out of choices, Hempelworth pulls a gun on the soldier. He goes after the soldier, but the soldier is younger and faster and stronger. He overpowers Hempelworth, pins him to the ground till the guards come to take him away. And without anyone to stop him, now the Prime Minister insists on being told everything. At the home, Duncan, Rose, and Gran relax, thinking they have finally averted and won against the looming threat, only for an emergency broadcast to come on and tell everyone about the other world, and show them footage proof of it. All those people learning the truth gives the stories new life, and the Grail reappears in Galahad's hands, which in turn allows Arthur to drink from the chalice, bathing him in green flames. which brings about a new Arthur, revitalized and made more powerful and whole. And Arthur senses what is happening in the real world and makes to travel to the very scene of the broadcast. The group watch the broadcast in horror as things begin to change on that end too. Arthur appears and beheads the Prime Minister, right in front of a whole watching nation. The Prime Minister's bodyguards try to gun him down, only to meet fates just as gruesome. And Arthur makes his declaration that anyone with any blood that isn't pure Britain is no longer safe, and that's when the broadcast cuts out. Everyone is in a state of despair. Everything in that country has been pulled into the other world. Rose realizes this is what her previous scrying warned her about, and Gran just gets up and walks outside to have herself a smoke. Duncan and Gran go outside. He tries to bum a cigarette off of her, but Gran refuses to share one with him, saying he needs to stay a good man. They sit there and talk about how she wanted to retire, but now may not get the chance to. Now are we shown that the entire landscape is overrun by monsters, some massive in their scale, but all seem to be incredibly numerous. And now, having reached the end of this book, all mayhem has broken out and all the cards seem to have fallen into the monster's hands, with our story's heroes left to panic. The level of body horror in this comic reminds me of the Immortal Hulk run. I also like how they portray modern government figures as corrupt, foolish, and power-hungry. But I also hope we are moving away from the Grail stories now, because it's starting to feel a bit overused. But I am looking forward to all the stories taking place between a shared, real, and other world, and how both work against each other, and how normal people work together against the horrors of the other world. I also want to take this moment to ask that if you liked this issue, please like, share, subscribe, and let us know what you thought down in the comments below. Thank you all, and see you next time.